So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Vinicio, and today I will be hosting the session entitled Developing Clean Label Plant-Based Products Using HPP. Today I'm also joined by our speakers, Joyce Longfield, Principal of HPP Applications at Good Foods, and Sonny Gornani, CEO of Plant Vita. So thank you for joining today. But before we actually give the floor to our speakers, we will be presenting a little bit of an overview of the HPP technology. So please stay tuned in. And here we are. So again, I'm Benicia. I'm an HPP applications specialist here at Hyperbaric, where we provide uh, technical support to customers, potential buyers in the USA and the Americas. And as stated, I will be presenting an overview of the HPP industry, focusing on plant-based foods. Where projections, well, you can see that's everywhere in the news, TV, radio, online, but that plant-based foods are growing markets, strong growing market with projections stating that it will get up to higher than $36,000 billion by 2024. Uh, Still, well, there's despite they're being perceived as healthy because they're derived of produce, fruits, grains, etc. But not all products are necessarily healthy, as in the case of any other foods derived from animal products. In example, some of the plant-based foods can actually have a higher calories in terms of a higher fat content, high sodium, high salt. They can also sometimes have a deficiency in some of nutrients, iron, some amino acids. So again, it's always best if you are actually a strict vegetarian, so to take into account of taking supplements, consulting a nutritionist. And over here, you can see that a very interesting study published a couple of years ago, in which they actually measured thousands of patients in the UK. You can see on the plot that well, basically they had the red line corresponds to foods that are high in fat, high calorie, derived from animal origins. The other dotted line over here, the discontinuous line over here in blue, purple, it's also consumers that are eating plant-based foods, but again, that do not pose the healthy characteristics. And the other line over here is those that consume actually healthy plant foods. So you see the number of servings for per each product category per day, and the risk of having chronic heart diseases. And you can see that those eating the healthy plant-based foods do have tend to decrease the likelihood of acquiring coronary heart disease, where those eating unhealthy plant-based foods actually have the same risk or very similar when compared to other animal-derived products that are also unhealthy. So again, it's not because it is labeled as plant-based, they are healthy. In terms of safety, well, there are always pathogens present in fresh vegetables, fruits, seeds, in any type of foods, as in meat. But well, in particular, we will be presenting data from by CDC, the Center for Disease Control, in 2006, which was particularly rough for the food industry, unfortunately. Well, both regulations and regulators and industry were working together to minimize the risk associated with foodborne outbreaks. But well, today we have Salmonella, Shiga toxin producing E. coli, and Listeria. Because well, these bacteria are those of the ones that appear most in the news for the wrong reasons, those that present the most risk or the most incidences. And that's what we have over here on the plot. You can see that, well, compared to E. coli and Listeria, Salmonella clearly outpaces them in terms of the number of cases that may be related to Salmonella, the number of illnesses reported to this, followed by E. coli and Listeria. But when you break it down, you can see that the hospitalization rate, it's, well, it's still high, 25%, but lower when compared to E. coli. And you can see over here the data for Listeria, which is the low incidence, but again, it's very, very dangerous. Over here for this particular year, most of the hospitalized patients were the elders, people 65 or older, and you can see that it also has a high fatality rate. So it's they are of serious concern. This breakdown of the different foods that were associated to all the outbreaks reported in 2016, And you can see again plenty of plant-based or ingredients. So you can see sprouts, vegetables, uh, again fresh produce, seeds, herbs, and those foods that have multiple ingredients from animal or plant origin. Again, you can see that there are lots and lots of outbreaks or illness cases reported. The, when people consume ready to eat, they are not expected to do any other operations like cooking, storing, or freezing. So you can see that the number of illnesses for ready to eat it's double when compared to those foods that are not considered as ready to eat. So there is all this time HPP has always been present since the early 1990s, and despite all these outbreaks, well, the HPP industry has remained clean out of any foodborne outbreaks. So it's being used for lots of foods, and of course, it can be used to develop clean and healthy plant-based foods. Nutritious, of course. Shelf life can get up to 90, perhaps 120 days, depending on formulations, processing conditions, packaging, etc. And in terms of the plant-based, you can see over here the breakdown of the estimated global productions for each HPP sector. Juices and beverages lead that way, but we also use plenty of raw produce, of plant-based ingredients. But well, if you actually take this out and you focus on the avocado products, dips, salsas, dressings, fruit and vegetable products, and some ready meals that all together count for 20% of the global production. So again, it's a large number, and again, no foodborne outbreaks have been related to HPP foods. In example, for the juices, a couple of years ago, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency actually went into the supermarkets to retail stores. They took out over 1,200 samples of HP commercial juices. They tested for basic microbial quality indicators such as total plate count, coliforms, and they also tested for the presence or absence of pathogens, Listeria, E. coli parasites such as Cryptosporidium, viruses like hepatitis, and well, it was a clean record for all those HPP samples. So again, no presence of pathogens, no outbreaks reported. You have more chances of winning that lottery than having an illness related to an HPP food consumption. So now jumping in with a little bit of perspective into the plant-based products, we started with fruits and vegetables, with purees or jams, because this was actually the first applications back in the early 1990s in Japan. This over here in the middle image that you can see that jams made out of strawberry, blueberry, and apple and peach. They were actually the first commercialized HPP products in the world. It helped in terms of reducing the amount of sugar needed to prepare the jam, helped with the texture, the consistency, so it was a smoother and better texture. Of course, there's safety and shelf life extension as well. Following up with a purees, well, the bacteria usually takes the most attention in terms of foodborne outbreaks, but there are also other pathogens such as parasites, or in this case, the viruses. Among viruses, well, you can see that norovirus is actually being regarded or labeled as the perfect human pathogen. It's sturdy to environmental and processing conditions. It's really stays on the surface for several days, weeks. It's hard to take down. It is easily transmitted from human to human. So again, it's the perfect human pathogen. Highly resistant to pressure, but still it can be inactivated to non-detectable levels under conditions slightly below those used by the industry, which would be the standard or the highest pressure level, all the way to 6,000 bars or 87,000 psi, with holding times ranging from typically 2 to 3 minutes. So again, non-detectable levels, and you can see over here in the image on the left, that's basically the same before and after the process. If we actually wouldn't have these labels on top, it will be actually very difficult to discern which of the purees has been actually processed with the HPP. So following up with viruses, in example, hepatitis, which is also a food associated with foodborne illnesses, can also be inactivated. In this case, strawberry puree at even lower pressure levels. So it's not only the safety. So now we're having a little bit of fun over here with sensory results reported. And over here are the reference, and you can see, well, different sensory attributes such as color, smell, taste, texture. The control on the or the unprocessed samples are being compared, sorry, for with thermal processing, or the HPV over here in the light gray. So the more you travel to the left in terms of the sensory attributes, the more likely that well, the attributes have been improved, or basically you don't have any complaints. And you can see how all HPP characteristics are heavily leaned towards the left, or at least there was no change before and after the process. So these fruit purees, vegetable purees are popular in terms of food for infants, baby, and young kids. Once Upon a Farm is one of the largest producers, and back some years ago, they used to actually share on their website how the puree that has been thermally processed without any colorants, without any stabilizers, versus the HP, which has a more natural product and a cleaner approach. So no preservatives, no colorants, no artificial flavors, just the pure fruits and vegetables over there. A recent company that has gained popularity recently, Lear Gourmets, because it also has a very interesting value proposition in order to get kids engaged into eating different types of foods, to have an open mind and open to other cultures or diversity. They basically have different recipes taken out from different parts of the world. So they go beyond the most popular fruit and vegetables, and again, they incorporate new ingredients. Again, trying to engage the kids and babies to eat plant-based foods, nutritious. Well, the snacks are actually not only for kids; they are also being used for adults as well, for snacks or for cuisine. Such is the case of La Fruitière in France, where, well, cuisine is of high quality, very strict, very lots of requirements, and again, they have plenty of different fruit purees that are being processed with the HPP because of the natural flavors, the natural aromas that they provide. You can see different presentations, such as pouches with fittings, tubs which are covered with a film, or even larger presentations. Up here, I believe it was up to 10 kilograms with the puree, in which they have a screw cap to easily dispense and close the container for further use. And well, for fruits by themselves, it's a little bit more challenging because HP can actually open up the plant cell structure, which may yield a water release. So this is one of the unwanted effects. But on the bright side, it also helps to take out nutrients that are deep within cell compartments to improve their accessibility and a more nutritious food. And over here we have an example actually in the microscope images over here for prickly pear, beta-lines, phenolic compounds that again, they are contained in on the cell wall or within plant cellular compartments. And with HPP, well, you basically help to release them outside the cell and make them more accessible for nutrition. One a way to minimize the water release or to hide it is actually having the fruit submerged into liquid, or even better, into their own juice. This is from Caña Nature or Nature over there in Spain. And well, if you missed it, they had a session yesterday that will be available on demand, but you can see it's just a fresh fruit cut into pieces, submerged into the juice and packaged into these resealable pouches. Throughout their website, their presentation, well, they share how convenient it is. It saves you, well, the time of washing the fruit, cutting down the fruit. It also allows you to open and reseal for multiple servings and have it available for a longer time. Again, the shelf life, that you are getting rid of pathogens of concern such as E. coli, Listeria, Salmonella, up to 40 days without adding any chemical preservatives. We do not obviously recommend this, but well, if you are absent-minded, just like in my case, that you can actually have some room of error over here, up to 4 hours outside of refrigeration with the HP technology. And this is, well, basically they just sum it up of talking about that convenience, about how it's healthy, no preservatives, that you can reseal the product safe, and thanks to the HPP technology, that the product is more likely to be present year round rather than just for very specific seasons throughout the year. Next in the presentation, well, we cover our avocado guacamoles, which Joyce may be talking a little bit more in detail, but just like the fruit purees and jams opened the way in Japan, the 1990s. In the mid 1990s, it was the avocado products, guacamole, which opened the way for the exponential growth of the HPP industry here in the United States. So I started with a Tex-Mex restaurant that used to import fresh avocado once or twice per week. So imagine the cost of that, but the demand for fresh avocado was high. They discovered the HPP technology. They basically know or tested themselves that there's no changes in terms of the delicate nutritional and sensory aspects. So avocado does not brown as in when you cook it or thermal processing. And again, in terms of the nutritional profile, the sensory, it's the same before and after the HPP process. So it has diversified into not only the avocado pulp, but also multiple recipes in which they incorporate onions, diced tomatoes, cilantro, some other herbs and vegetables. Some examples over here in which they are packaged in a plastic film with a film covering on top, and a little bit more challenging, but you can actually go and process these avocado halves, but you need certain specifications in terms of the maturity, size, and of course the packaging to prevent damaging before and after the HPP. In terms of the safety, well, this year, by 2022, FDA released a report in which they also took hands into their own matter, actually surveyed avocado samples from over here from the United States or coming from abroad to other countries such as Mexico. And again, no, they were close to 900 samples, 887 samples through a 2-year period. Those samples that were identified by HP, you can see that it's basically non-detectable levels of pertinent or recurrent pathogens, Listeria, Salmonella. And you can see this is not the case for raw products. And again, both of these have been associated to outbreaks in avocado, salsa, similar products. But over here with the HPP, it's a clean sheet and again, no pathogen detection. Following up with guacamole, well, nowadays perhaps hummus is one of the plant-based dips that's actually competing with the king, with the avocado and derived products, made out of chickpeas, cooked chickpeas that are blended over with olive oil, garlic, salt, different types of ingredients. And again, it's very convenient. Some of these formulations can get up to 90, 120 days shelf life. And such is the case of Ithaca Hummus, one of the fastest growing brands in the market. The owner, CEO, the founder, it's a chef, so he's very strict in terms of the high quality standard that he seeks for his formulations. And again, he's able to do this with natural ingredients with the HPP technology. Some more examples: Fresh Innovations, one of our customers in Mexico that has diversified into salsas, other dips that combined with plant-based foods. Dressings, which also Joy will be talking about. Sunny will be talking about plant-based drinks, but other interesting products such as these dips made out of almonds, cashews, nuts, not only fruits anymore, fresh pesto sauce, even wet salads made out of algae that are being commercialized with the HPP technology. For the last section, well, we have the meat and dairy analogs in which you use ingredients trying to simulate, well, meat products such as burger patties, sausages. You can see that, well, it's in addition to the safety, you need to also consider how to formulate the product to closely resemble in terms of the texture, color, consistency to the muscle or to the meat. In this case, well, these same conditions, 6,000 bars, 4.5 minutes are sufficient to eliminate E. coli in minced beef. But in this case, or beef, but in this case, you can see that for this particular formulation, well, it's not clearly stated, but these particular plant-based patties, there's still room for improvement in terms of adding additional ingredients that will allow to reach 5 log or greater reductions for the pathogens Listeria and E. coli. Same applies over here for the product. That's there are alternatives in order to improve the appearance or the red color that should be sought. Another interesting reference over here, it's with potential commercial applications, the development of yogurts that are plant-based, completely free of dairy. The authors over here try different grains, and they do a very good job describing the procedures in terms of not it's only the proteins, but they also have oil, water, probiotics. The procedures needed followed in order to get the consistency that closely resembles animal-based or dairy-based yogurts, which were actually achieved and reported here in on the reference. But they also noted that the next steps will be try to mimic also the flavor and in terms of how the microorganisms used to ferment the dairy, if they can actually also ferment the foods or give them a similar flavor. So those will be the next steps of the investigation. And over here is the link in case that you want to follow up the research group. And just to finalize this section, well, again, that's again, there are plenty of foods, plenty of ideas, marvelous. And you can see over here these very complex ready meals in which they have actually grains mixed up with other vegetables. Over here they have just the the shape of pasta, and again we shall see more of these examples coming in the near future. So this is all for the time being for myself. Just that, well, Hyperbaric were the HPP leaders in terms of equipment supplier. I'm only part of the application staff, but that we are at your service, ready to answer any questions related to HPP food processing, packaging, trials, of course, validation, regulations. Also, please go over and check our website. There are plenty of resources in the HPP Innovation Week. Should be there in a couple of months or weeks. But well, there are also other past webinar recordings, case studies, white papers, news release, plenty of information for you to consult. You are welcome anytime to visit us in our HPP incubator here in Miami to perform trials free of charge. And now this is the end of my presentation. Our email address for the applications department, apps@hyperbaric.com. The phone number for our office in the headquarters in Spain, the USA. And now we would like you to welcome Joyce Longfield, who will be following up with the presentation. Joyce, again, thank you very much for agreeing to participate today, and well, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Vinicio. Thank you for inviting Good Foods and myself for participating in your Innovation Week and on this topic in particular. So I'll give a little bit of background just about Good Foods and who we are, what we do. And this kicks off really well from your presentation, especially the piece on guacamole, because that has been one of our longest products that Good Foods has been making probably for over 10 years now. And, I think a lot of people forget that it is plant-based, in this world of plant-based, that we're trying to make these non-dairy versions of things plant-based, or these meat analogs, as you also included. But, we've been doing guacamole for a long time, and we just couldn't do it without HPP because of the amazing synergies that it has. And I would wager that very few people have ever tasted what a cooked avocado tastes like, because it's just not favorable. And so other than freezing or using preservatives, you can't really have any shelf life on avocado-based products without HPP. So it was always the right technology for the company from the beginning. And Kurt saw that, and Kurt is our founder and CEO. And so he knew from, the very start of when he started Good Foods that HPP had to be a part of it. And for all the reasons that you mentioned, food safety, probably number one, shelf life extension, clean labels, the texture. It's just been such a huge part of us being able to grow to the size that we have grown. And along the way, we've been part of the founding members for the High Pressure Certified. And this was very important for us to be a part of it and share the knowledge about HPP with our other HPP users in the industry and with people looking to use the technology. So as I mentioned, some of the things that we love about HPP, we are fully vertically integrated. So everything that we make is under one roof and goes through HPP. And we try to have a minimum to HPP time being within 6 hours of products being made, which not a lot of people can say. So we're quite proud of that. As a result, we've had some excellent SQF scores, achieved over 100% for 3 times. We continue to excel, and understanding the use of HPP and its applications is very important, because you have to consider all the upstream factors that go into making a product that's going to go through HPP. And our team definitely does an excellent job at understanding all of those factors. I myself have been working with Good Foods, for a number of years now, but I've known them since 2010, and being able to see them where they were in 2010 to where they are now is just tremendous. And I honestly think I speak for Kurt when we say that we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for HPP. So under our portfolio of plant-based products, as I mentioned, we do guacamole. We also have salad dressings. But what we are really accelerating forward with is our plant-based dips. Not just because it's what the company wants to strive at, but just the industry is demanding it. As you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation, the growth of plant-based is tremendous. And one of the other components that I really appreciated about you mentioning your presentation is just the importance of the ingredient contents that are going into these plant-based, because yes, you can have the unhealthy version of a plant-based product. If you make an Oreo gluten-free, it doesn't necessarily make it better for you just because it's gluten-free. So we've taken that approach with all of our products as we go through development. As I mentioned before with our guacamole, we have a variety of different package sizes, including food service offerings, snack sizes, and not that you went over this in your presentation, but if anybody is wondering, basically any size or shape will fit into that machine as long as it fits into the carrier, which is excellent for us because we have package sizes in all different shapes and sizes. As you can see, our bottles for our salad dressings, again, different shapes. So going back to the plant-based dips, as I mentioned before, the ingredient selection was so important to us. We wanted to really make the foundation of our plant-based dips produce forward. It was something we were not seeing in the plant-based. I think a lot of people were hyper-focused on how do they substitute the dairy component, and nuts were and are a huge component of that. And yes, nuts are very healthy for you, but we just felt there was so much more that could be added. And so that's what we really tried to do with our plant-based dip offering, is offer that so much more and offer that vegetable component to it. And, it's been incredibly well received. When you look at our positioning of our plant-based dips compared to some of the competing products out there, we really are the only ones that is taking this approach with adding produce first. And it's not, just a small amount of produce. Like probably most of our dips, more than 50% of the ingredient content is on the produce side of it. And, so we're really proud of that, and achieving the flavors too. So, not just having such high content in produce, but having the immense flavor profiles coming through. And our facility being in Wisconsin, there's large presence of dairy, and a lot of people in our office had a very hard time believing in the beginning that there was no dairy components in it. So that was, very reassuring and very gratifying to move forward with our flavor profiles. We knew we were on the right track if we had the approval of our Wisconsin-based colleagues. And these are some of the new packaging and product flavors that we're launching this year. We did launch the roasted red pepper last year for a limited time with Costco, and it did really well. So it's going to be transitioning into our retail offering, along with a new roasted garlic flavor, which if you love garlic, then you will not be disappointed with this flavor profile. But then we're also going to be launching with our new grab and go snack packs, which have dippers in them, and they're so easy. And one of the things that I also am glad you mentioned in your presentation is just about that HPP offering sort of that buffer when it's not refrigerated for a period of time. And, you know, we had to take that into account when we were doing these grab and goes, is that there's going to be a period that, you know, these products might get left out at room temperature, or again, might get thrown into somebody's bag, or they're just sitting on someone's desk even before they actually get to eat it. And so it's nice to have that reassurance, knowing that HPP is adding that extra, you know, protection and benefit to these products, that they're not going to start to blow up because there's uncontrollable growth from bacteria, and that they're, you know, helping maintain like the freshness and the flavor profile and everything. So I don't think that we could have made these products as successful if we weren't using HPP. And all of our thought that's gone into our plant-based dips has been rewarded through these different accolades that we've achieved, you know, and that has been just internally for our team very rewarding to see that we are getting the same recognition for the thought that went into it. The idea of putting produce forward, it has been recognized from our consumers, from our influencers on social media from day one. That's one of the things that they talk about all the time, is seeing cauliflower on the label and some of the other ingredients, and also not seeing a flavor component, whether it be natural or artificial, that we're using the spices and the vegetables to deliver on the flavor and the color. And that's it for my presentation. Anything else? If you want me to answer any questions, or do we want to move on to Sunny?
Well, thank you, Joyce. We can contact us we will forward any questions to Joyce, but shall we continue, please, with Sunny Gorniani, for CEO of Plant Vita.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Joyce. It was a wonderful presentation for Good Foods, and I have tried the dips from Costco, and very happy to know that I actually never looked into much into detail, but very happy to know they are produce forward. So thank you all for the opportunity to present onto the HPP Innovation Week and share the journey of Plant Veda and how we utilize HPP technology. So it all started, actually, I used to be a software engineer working in Silicon Valley for high-tech companies. And when I learned about, you know, how we could really reverse our heart disease and diabetes and cancers on a plant-based diet, that's when I started to come into this. My father had actually passed away from a heart disease. And when I learned that we could literally reverse the heart disease on a plant-based diet, and this doesn't even need to exist. It's such a simple thing for us to do. Why are we not doing that? That should be our first priority. And there are so many people who we are losing from these very simple diseases, which could be easily prevented by eating the right food. Then this is the most important thing which I should focus on as well. So I shifted my career from software engineering to plant-based, and this is a picture of my father and my mother with me when I was a little baby. And since yesterday was the Father's Day, I thought this is the right moment to share the picture. So about Plant Veda, we are a plant-based company with a mission to shift humanity to a plant-based lifestyle. And we are currently focusing on shifting people from dairy to the plant-based dairy. So the way we make our products is, instead of just focusing on one ingredient, let's say either it is almond milk or oat milk and so on, we focus on the combination of ingredients, as our name is derived from Ayurveda, which all means the balance of different ingredients, and that's what we do at Plant Veda. So we use wholesome ingredients. We don't use any refined oils. We don't use any artificial flavors. We use the wholesome, different plant-based nuts and seeds and fruits, and combine them together to bring the taste and texture of dairy while still keeping it wholesome. We have a 25,000 square feet facility in Vancouver, BC area. And we are so honored to have HPP Canada, Patricia, who is the owner of HPP Canada, also as part of our facility as well. And the way we have named our facility is really a plant-based innovation center. So we are also open to help other brands really scale their plant-based offerings in the market by also providing them contract manufacturing, contract packaging, and also getting HPP done by our partner at HPP Canada. In terms of our current products, we have a whole range of probiotic products, which is the lassi, which, if many of you know, it's a very ancient yogurt smoothie. Usually it is made out of dairy, and we have made it from plants with a combination of cashews, oats, and real fruit. It has billions of probiotics. We have won multiple awards, including Product of the Year Award, Clean Eating Magazine Award, Vancouver Magazine Honorable Mentions, and so on. We also have the plant-based milks, and the flavor which is presented here is the real saffron and cardamom. So it has the real threads of saffron in the product. It is very flavorful, and chunks of pistachios as well. Then we have the range of coffee creamers, which are also wholesome. So they don't contain any added oils, which you would find in many other plant-based coffee creamers, and they are completely wholesome. So they are made with a combination of oats, cashews, and coconuts. And we have recently launched plant-based yogurts, which are made with, again, the combination of ingredients, including the plant-based proteins. And they are all natural with billions of probiotics. Now, many of the consumers have the question about, even many of the brands have the question about, how do the probiotics survive with the HPP process? So there are different kind of probiotics, and the probiotics which are usually used for the fermentation purposes usually have the simple vegetative cell in the front of them, which actually they are basically vegetative based probiotics. So there is an inner cell and also the cell wall, which may get destroyed by the HPP process. But there is also a new term which is called postbiotics, which many of us are not aware of, which is when the probiotics are also not alive, they are equally beneficial for us. Now, in terms of coming back to probiotics, but there are also other probiotics available, which are spore-forming probiotics. So they are actually prevented by the natural spore coat outside, which is survived even after the HPP process. One of the probiotic company which provides that, it's called Kerry, and this is a BC30 probiotics, which can be used. So we have tried those probiotics and they work really well with HPP. So why we use HPP? Really, the most important benefit, as even Joyce mentioned, is the shelf life, because the packed products, consumers expect that we have a higher shelf life. That takes a long time for our product, which leaves our door, to get into the retail store and ultimately get into the hands of people. So that's the one of the most important benefit of HPP. The another important benefit, which is the product safety, as we talked about earlier, and this is really with all different kind of viruses and pathogens and all of those, which can come on into the product through various different ways. So that's very important. And finally, for me personally, which I really love about HPP, is when our product leaves the door, we are not really sure how it is handled in the distribution, in the retail, and ultimately by consumer buying the product and going to their home and consuming it. There is a lot of moving things which happen, and when it has gone through HPP, we have a peace of mind that we have a very solid step to prevent any of pathogens from transferring, any of the viruses and all those, and ultimately guarantee that the product is going to be safe and good when the consumer wants to consume it. So that's really all from my side, and would be happy to receive any of your questions. Thank you. Sorry, Vincio, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I just saw that had a microphone muted, but again, Sunny, thank you for participating. Now we are actually a little bit short in terms of time for questions, but well, you can reach out. We can forward questions to Sunny. Very interesting presentations, both from you yourself, Joyce. I think we covered lots of ground, and well, with this we will be ending the session. Thank you for joining, everyone, and please stay tuned here in the HPP Innovation Week.
Thank you so much.